lifting of the operating license of Dana Air. Yes, you did hear the minister speak last week, and a lot of you have also sent a word or two about your thoughts on this matter. And boy, what comments did we get from you lot? Well, Tony Usidaman joins us now. He's the head of Dana Air Corporate Communications. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, as at the last time, we understand that that was last week, that you were not aware, no notification, as it were, formally from the Ministry of Aviation. Was that the case at the time? And what about now?
The first time we heard, like most Nigerians, was in the media, but within 24 hours after the news broke in the media, the notice was communicated to us.
What do you think about those who have expressed some sort of dissatisfaction about the lifting of your operating license?
I think it's natural after we've suffered a tragedy of this magnitude, because we're talking not about chicks but about precious human lives lost. I know what it's like to lose one member of my family, let alone lose 9 members of your family. How do you console somebody in that position? So the public outcry that greeted the initial news of the tragedy is understandable, because we're talking about precious human lives here. But the aviation industry follows certain international regulations, and whenever tragedies like this, air accidents happen anywhere in the world, the norm is not to ground an airline. The norm is to ensure that all the other aircrafts in the fleet of the airline are airworthy, and it is the duty of the Civil Aviation Authority to ensure that while the AIB, which is the body saddled with the responsibility of determining the cause of an accident, continues its investigation. This is the norm everywhere in the world. So while we are not surprised that a lot of people have voiced concerns, we also know that it is not the international standard in aviation anywhere in the world to ground an airline immediately it has suffered a tragedy, a tragic accident such as what Dana suffered on the 3rd of June.
If you allow me comment, because I quite understand how hard it can be for Dana, but again, the argument or the reason you just gave, which is also the reason the federal government has also given, can't be placed side by side with what there has been happening or what has happened before in the country with regards to other airlines that have had such accidents in times past. They're never giving the licenses back, and they're still not flying till date. So I'm quite sure you must have seen in some quarters that
that is not correct. That is not correct, even here in Nigeria. Let me start with the international scene. Air France, for instance.
No, we're talking about locally here.
No, I will come to the local. I just want to create a background to the lifting of the suspension so that the viewers out there can understand that this is not against international trend. Nigeria is a signatory to ICAO, which means we follow certain international regulations. Now, when Air France suffered a fatal accident in 2009 in which 216 people died, the airline was never grounded for 1 day. The airline continues its operation, and it's perhaps the second largest carrier everywhere in the world today. BA suffered a similar accident in 2008, and the airline was never grounded. Now, locally, you can look at the case of Bellevue, for instance. Bellevue continued its operations up until a year after, when the management decided to rest its operation. The federal government never grounded Bellevue for 1 day. The case of Dana has been an aberration from the norm, both locally and internationally. A lot of people think that the airlines that previously suffered similar accidents in Nigeria never operated or were suspended, but that was not the case. Dana is the first of such cases in the country. Dana is the first airline to be grounded on the basis of an accident, and it is the first here in Nigeria and everywhere in the world.
But we understand that usually, even though it's not the practice to take away the license of the airline, usually the aircrafts in that particular make, especially the one that had the crash, will be rested for a while to ensure that everything about them is checked and it didn't have anything to do with that particular aircraft. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. And it turns out that all of Dana's aircraft are of one particular make. Do you think that could have contributed to your license being taken away from you in the first instance?
Like I said, it is against international regulations. The example you have cited comes to bear when the Accident Investigation Bureau or the Civil Aviation Authority is nearly 100% sure that the cause of the accident is as a result of the aircraft type. Now, when you are not sure that the aircraft type has contributed to the accident, you don't recall such aircraft. The reason is this: when a country suffers an air accident, it is not the problem of that country alone. It is an international issue. Why do I say this? Because several aircrafts of similar make are flying everywhere else in the world. Okay, so usually when these accidents happen, the Accident Investigation Bureau or the investigating authority in the concerned country starts an investigation, but they don't do this alone because it is an issue of international concern. They have the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, as in the case of the Dana accident, join them. They have officials of the Federal Aviation Administration from the U.S. join. The manufacturers of the aircraft, because don't forget, these aircrafts are not manufactured here in Nigeria. The manufacturers of the aircraft also join in the investigations. The manufacturers of the engine join in the investigations as well. Now, this is to ascertain, maybe through a preliminary investigation, that the accident is not as a result of a defect in that particular kind of aircraft. When the Accident Investigation Bureau is not able to ascertain this, then there is no need to recall such aircraft, because if you're recalling that aircraft in the fleet of an airline in Nigeria, then you have to be like 100% sure that it's as a result of that. That means everywhere else in the world, that particular aircraft has to be recalled.